Okay, we are online. You can start talking.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the Land2Land Connect event. This edition, we are introducing the Boston ecosystem. I'm Rodrigo Mendes, the Director of International Relations from Anprotec, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you and all these great institutions that are participating with us, and also with all the entrepreneurs and startups from the Brazilian ecosystem. I would like to, before getting into the introduction of our guests, I will just tell you, for those who don't are not familiar with the Land2Land Connect program, it's an initiative, joint initiative of Anprotec, National Association of Science, Technology, Parks, Business Incubators, and Innovation Ecosystems. Also, Apex Brasil, the Brazilian Investment and Export Agency. Sebrae, the service that supports small and SMEs, small companies in Brazil, and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs through the Program of Innovation Diplomacy, and Land2Land Connect. It's a virtual event that connects startups with global ecosystems in order to help them in the process of internationalization and connecting to institutions and programs of soft landing, incubation, acceleration. And the idea is to get you in contact with trustful network of support for startups. And this is our fifth event. Now we will be having a dive in the Boston ecosystem, and for all those that are familiar with the innovation ecosystems and global areas of innovation, Boston is one of the most important ecosystems in the world, in the US. It's a very developed area of innovation. And here we will have today, starting with Mr. Roberto Medeiros from the Brazilian Consulate in Boston. Also, Mr. Oliver Sanchez from the Boston Excel Hub, Manuel Mendes from Boston Innovation Gateway, Mary Meslin from the Capital Network, and Joan Popolo from the Action Innovation Network, Soft Landing, and Ms. Sunanda from Mass Challenge. I also have here with me Ms. Cristina Mieco from the Brazilian Service for Small and Medium Companies, Sebrae, to whom I pass the word for the welcome and the official opening of this. And she's here representing all the institutions. I will be moderating this event. So please, Cristina, the floor is yours.
Oh, thanks, Rodrigo. Thanks for introducing me. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Land2Land Connect Boston. I'm Cristina Mieco from Sebrae, a developing agency in Brazil that supports small businesses. I'm so very, very happy to be part of this event, this online event. So, and would like to thank all the speakers for accepting our invitation and to share their knowledge in order to explore this unique opportunity to share ideas and to promote a connection between Brazil and Boston. So let's switch to Portuguese to Brazilian audience and explain a little bit about how to Land2Land Connect works. So I share my screen. Just a minute, please. Oh, it's disabled for me. Oh, I need a help. Please help me. Luciano, can you help me?
Sure, yeah. You disconnected, now you're connected again.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Share. Can you see my screen? Okay. So, land2land Connect. Now I will speak in Portuguese. Land2land Connect, primeiro. Bom dia, pessoal que está nos assistindo, né? Eu sou Cristina Mieco, do Sebrae, né? Uma das 4 instituições que realizam Land2land Connect. É um prazer dar as boas-vindas para vocês, para essa agenda, explicar um pouquinho como funciona o Land2land Connect. Como o Rodrigo mencionou no início, a gente está na 5ª agenda, né? No 5º webinar, fazendo esse mergulho mais profundo sobre o ecossistema de inovação de Boston. Então, o land2land é essa iniciativa, né, para promover a internacionalização das startups brasileiras. E as instituições que realizam é a Anprotec, a Associação Nacional de Entidades Promotoras de Empreendimentos Inovadores aqui no Brasil, Apex Brasil, que é a Agência Brasileira de Promoção de Exportações e Investimento, o Sebrae, Serviço Brasileiro de Apoio às Micro e Pequenas Empresas, e o Ministério das Relações Exteriores, por meio do Programa da Diplomacia da Inovação. Então, o land2land é um evento virtual que traz informações sobre o mercado, né, daquela edição, e a ideia é iniciar e ajudar as startups a acelerar o seu processo de internacionalização por meio dos ambientes de inovação no exterior, né? Seja por meio de um soft landing, incubação ou aceleração e incubação cruzada. Também, um outro objetivo do Land2land Connecting ele integra a plataforma do land2land, que é um programa mais amplo, né, da Anprotec, que traz vários ambientes de inovação do mundo ali credenciados, também do Brasil, para fazer esse processo de incubação cruzado. Então, o objetivo do Land2land Connect é iniciar o processo de internacionalização de empresas inovadoras e startups, por meio dessa introdução dessa agenda virtual, apresentando um pouco sobre o mercado, sobre as oportunidades de conexão, né, soft landing e incubação. Também um outro objetivo é acelerar esse processo de internacionalização, conectando com prestadores de serviços locais, apresentando um pouco de como é que funciona o mercado, né, de agendas bilaterais, para promover essa incubação, esse network. Eu queria falar um pouquinho, já que a gente está na 5ª edição, das agendas que aconteceram até aqui e da próxima, né? Então, começamos em julho, no dia 30, com Lisboa, tivemos Santiago em agosto, em setembro tivemos Toronto, agora em outubro tivemos Xangai, começamos com novembro com Boston e terminamos agora essa agenda com Paris, né, no dia 30 de novembro. Então, o ecossistema de inovação land2land, a ideia é conexões com ambientes de inovação, que já realizamos presencialmente, né, por meio do Startup Brasil, onde a gente ativou esses ecossistemas de alguma forma, e também as ações de cooperação que essas 4 instituições têm com organismos internacionais, né, para promover essa agenda de conhecimento sobre o mercado. Então, como é que a gente escolheu, né, todos esses ecossistemas? Com base no ambiente, né, os custos de instalação, se eram acessíveis, se tivemos casos de sucesso de empresas brasileiras nesses ecossistemas, a questão dos acordos que cada uma dessas instituições tem para propiciar a internacionalização. Lógico, o mercado é sempre quem puxa a internacionalização das empresas, então era importante também verificar a questão do que o mercado busca em termos de tecnologias de empreendimentos inovadores para que a gente pudesse fazer essa conexão. Também olhamos a questão das barreiras, as afinidades de cultura, de idioma e de custos para instalação, e lógico, a gente precisa de recursos para viabilizar a internacionalização. Então, a questão do acesso a capital. Então, a agenda de hoje começa com o senhor Roberto, que o Rodrigo vai fazer toda essa moderação com vocês, como ele bem colocou. E a gente quer agradecer mais uma vez a participação de todos. Aproveitem essa agenda, é uma oportunidade única de vocês mergulharem sobre o ecossistema de inovação de Boston, entenderem todas as oportunidades para a internacionalização. Rodrigo, passo novamente a palavra para você.
Muito obrigado, Cris. And switching back to English, thank you very much, Chris Mieco from Sebrae. And before I hand the word to Mr. Roberto Medeiros from the Brazilian Consulate in Boston, I would like to give you all the attendants just some information. I would like to please, and I ask you if you have any questions and doubts, please write them at the chat. We will be glad to be answering. All the speakers will be here also to answer your questions. So please help. Feel free to use the chat for the question. Also, for those who are joining us and haven't subscribed or registered in the land2land link for this event, I would kindly ask you for register so you will receive all the presentations, informations, feedback, and also you'll be able to give us your feedback on the event, and we will be connected. So use the registration for that as well. Passing to Mr. Roberto Gabriel Medeiros. Roberto Medeiros started the diplomatic career in 1993. He served in the Brazilian embassies in Damascus, Madrid, Beirut, and Wellington, and in Brazil's permanent delegation to the UN in New York. In Brazil, he worked in the Middle East Division, the Secretariat for Internal Control, and the General Secretariat for Political Affairs. And since 2018, he has been Deputy Consul General and heads the Science, Technology, and Innovation and Trade Promotion sectors at the Consulate General of Brazil in Boston. Boston is one of the largest global ecosystems, science, technology, and innovation. Its metropolitan region is home to more than 100 higher education institutions, including Harvard and MIT, associated with cutting-edge technology centers. Due to its peculiarities, Boston has become a great environment for the establishment of innovation business and the creation of startups. Among its sectors of excellence, biotechnology, life science, robotics, artificial intelligence, information security, clean energy, finance, technology, and advanced manufacturing stand out. Presentation will mention the historical background of the relationship with Brazil and focus on characteristics of local science, technology, and innovation. And again, I would like to thank for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Brazil. Please, Mr. Roberto Medeiros, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Rodrigo, pela apresentação. Quero agradecer a oportunidade de falar hoje aqui nessa interessante iniciativa da Anprotec, louvável iniciativa da Anprotec, com partenariado da Apex Brasil, do Sebrae e, logicamente, do Ministério das Relações Exteriores, com o Programa de Diplomacia da Inovação. Nós, aqui no Consulado Geral em Boston, agradecemos pela oportunidade de participar nesse evento. Saudar também, inicialmente em português, os expositores e também o público participante. Eu preparei um PowerPoint, uma apresentação em inglês. Então, eu gostaria de, sem mais delongas, passar diretamente para a apresentação. O tempo é limitado. Eu vou pedir para a Raíssa Gomes, que trabalha comigo no Consulado Geral em Boston, para compartilhar a tela, que é para a gente poder seguir aqui na exposição. So let's have today a general overview of the Boston ecosystem of science, technology, and innovation. My presentation will first introduce the subject. Then we will take a look at the brief historical background of the Brazil-Boston connection in science and technology. Then we will speak about local innovation districts. Then we will mention some characteristics of the local science and technology and innovation ecosystem. And we will wrap up with services provided by Cleantech Boston. So in order to introduce the subject, I would say first, if there is a city in the United States that has conciliated tradition, revolution, innovation. This city is, without any doubt, Boston. Remember that Boston is the cradle of the American Revolution that ended up in the country's independence in 1776. Boston is also the birthplace of modern venture capital. Today, Boston is one of the top 5 global ecosystems of science, technology, and innovation. The city is proud to be home to the most innovative square mile on the planet, which is located around the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which we all know is the famous MIT. So let's now talk about the Boston ecosystem of science, technology, and innovation. Let's begin with a brief historical background of the Boston connection in Boston, Brazil connection in science and technology and innovation. The historical connection between Boston and Brazil in science, technology, and innovation dates back to the 19th century. And the historical character that most incarnates this connection is the emperor, our Emperor Dom Pedro II. Dom Pedro II visited the United States in 1876 on a private mission for scientific, technological, and industrial exploration. He attended the opening of the Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia in search of scientific and technological opportunities that were suitable to Brazil. There, the emperor met with the inventor of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, and carried out an experiment with a telephone, a technological novelty that was being disclosed at the exhibition. So in order to modernize Brazil, the emperor signed a contract with the Bell Telephone Company, founded in Boston, which later became AT&T. And as a result, the first telephone in Latin America was installed at the Imperial Palace in Petrópolis. It is important to point out that although the contacts with Graham Bell were made in Philadelphia, the telephone had been developed in Boston, our city, which already at that time stood out as a science, technology, and innovation hub. It is worth remembering that there were already important universities producing science, technology, and innovation in Boston at that time. Harvard was the first one, was the first university of the United States, founded in 1636. Boston University, also that funded the telephone research, had been founded in 1839, and MIT was founded in 1861. As a matter of fact, the relationship between Boston and Brazil in science, technology, and innovation has evolved over time. In the 1990s, Brazil acquired radars from the Boston-based company Raytheon in the framework of Project Sivan. Project Sivan, you know, is Sistema de Vigilância da Amazônia, to protect our Amazon. Let's recall here that the radar technology was perfected in Boston between MIT and Raytheon during the Second World War. It is also worth mentioning the intense public and private exchange, including investments between Brazil and Boston in the areas of medicine and biotechnology. There are so many that I cannot cite them here, it's too many. In addition, for decades already, Boston has hosted an exceptionally qualified Brazilian scientific diaspora that is composed by students, professors, and entrepreneurs. Some of them gather regularly around the group of Brazilian university researchers, Pesquisadores Universitários Brasileiros, also called PUB Boston. The group is one of the consulate's most important partners here in Boston, and we are happy to sponsor their monthly meetings. Let's switch now to innovation districts in Boston, geographical locations. In Boston, there are 3 main innovation districts. First one is Route 128, second is Kendall Square, and the third is the Seaport Innovation District. The oldest is Route 128. It's a highway long time known as America's Technology Beltway. This innovation district developed along this highway in the 1950s with companies that produce it from transistors to semiconductors. Today, the area is home to more than 1,000 companies, including the old Polaroid and also Raytheon. The second district is Kendall Square, located around MIT and close to Harvard University. The area concentrates biotechnology companies, for example, Biogen and Genzyme, and biopharma, Novartis, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, etc., but also houses technological giants like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon. There are also venture capital companies and the Cambridge Innovation Center, which works as a meeting point for various operators of the ecosystem. Kendall Square is considered one of the most innovative regions of the United States, and I would say one of the most innovative regions of the world. In fact, they are called the most innovative square mile in the planet. There are, for example, companies from more than 30 industrial sectors, including information technology and life sciences. And of the top 20 global companies in the biopharma sector, 13 are located in Kendall Square. Embraer X, which is a branch of the Brazilian Embraer company, and all of us know, is also based in Kendall Square. And together with Uber, has been developing an aerial vehicle which will operate as an air taxi very soon. Kendall Square houses today more than 450 high-tech companies. The third district is the Seaport Innovation District. It was developed since 2010 to reduce the saturation of Kendall Square. It currently houses leading technology companies such as General Electric, which is interested in Internet of Things, industrial internet, pharmaceutical, for example, Vertex, interested in hepatitis C, biotech, cleantech, robotics, and electronic commerce companies. In the Seaport District is located the outstanding Mass Challenge Accelerator. Let's now focus on the characteristics of the Boston science, technology, and innovation ecosystem. The first one will be access to talents. The second will be strength, diversity, and system connectivity. The third, incentives to research and development. And the fourth, public and private support to innovation and entrepreneurship. So characteristic number one, access to talents. Boston's most important assets as a science, technology, and innovation hub is the availability of talents. They call talent pool, which provides access to an extremely qualified labor force. Part of this labor force comes from approximately 50 universities in Boston. Harvard and MIT are only two of them. Just to mention some figures, Massachusetts is the national per capita leader in STEM degrees. You know that STEM degrees stand for science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. In 2018, MIT was the second overall in patents registration with 304, and Harvard was the 8th with 137. In turn, Harvard is the university with the highest number of Nobel Prizes, 161. To sum up, there is a huge, young, and highly qualified labor force available for high-tech ventures in Boston. On top of that, there is quite good labor mobility between companies. Characteristic number two, strength, diversity, and system connectivity. As regards strength, Boston is ranked 5th in the global ranking of Startup Genome 2020, which proves its strength as a startup ecosystem. Boston is only second to Silicon Valley, New York, London, and Beijing. As regards diversity, Boston excels in life sciences, biotech, health tech, and the pharmaceutical industry. However, the local ecosystem is diverse and also houses startups in the areas of clean tech, fintech, games, e-commerce, as well as robotics, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and machine learning. Also, with respect to human diversity and inclusiveness, the participation of women and foreigners in the local ecosystem is not perfect, we know that, but it's growing. Boston used to be considered a city with a white population, but that has been changing. Today, it is the 6th city in the United States with greatest diversity, which also contributes to the testing of products for global markets. As regards connectivity, the local ecosystem is very well interconnected. There's a large availability of shared workspaces, such as the Cambridge Innovation Center, CIC, and other institutions that act as facilitators of contacts between startups, large firms, VCs, incubators, accelerators, and government agencies. Let's switch now to characteristic number 3, incentives to research and development. Historically, the private sector in Boston has invested a lot of financial resources in the development of technological products, the example of Polaroid and Raytheon. The current trend is that universities are investing in infrastructure, in key areas, to keep Boston at the forefront of high-tech initiatives. Harvard, for example, has the Innovation Labs with the Venture Program, which functions as a startup incubator, and MIT, on the other hand, invested $1 billion in the Schwarzman College of Computing, focused on computer science and artificial intelligence. There is also availability of financial resources for research and development. Harvard, for example, has the Alstom Venture Fund, and MIT has the Engine and the E14 funds. All of these funds make it possible to turn good ideas into viable projects. Characteristic number 4, public and private support for science, technology, and innovation. There are so many that I will cite only two examples of public support. The state of Massachusetts encourages innovation through MassTech, for example, a public agency whose objective is to support the innovation economy and contribute to make Massachusetts a global leader in the digital economy. The institution provides support tools for entrepreneurs and startups with information about financing and developing programs. On the other hand, Boston City Hall manages the Start Hub website. Here we are talking about one of the best websites in the country in the area of science, technology, and innovation. It works as a showcase for the local ecosystem, especially startups. That is, it provides information about startups, investors, resources, workspaces, incubators, and accelerators in the Boston area. I hope one day Brazil will have something like this. Still, characteristic number 4, support from the private sector. The local private sector also stimulates innovation and entrepreneurship through a wide and strong venture capital infrastructure. We have people talking about venture capital today. Currently, 77% of the venture capital stock in the USA is directed to 3 states, California, New York, and Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, however, there is less competition for VC than in Silicon Valley, for example, which increases the chances for obtaining investments. The system has worked very well, even during COVID-19. In August, startups and technology firms raised almost $7 billion in investments. There is also large availability of incubators, accelerators, and shared workspaces, and soft landing companies. So I will finish, wrap up with services provided by Cleantech Boston, the Consulate General of Brazil Science and Technology section. We are able to provide general information about the market and the local innovation ecosystem. We can facilitate dialogue with government agencies in Massachusetts and the city of Boston, and also with research institutions, incubators, accelerators, and shared workspaces. We are also able to facilitate contact with members of the Brazilian scientific diaspora in Boston. We provide information about local companies. We can identify local service providers, and we can also promote events on our social media. So I think it's only this. I hope it could be a good contribution to the event today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roberto Medeiros, Consulate General of Brazil in Boston. It was a great dive and presentation in the Boston ecosystem. Your presentation has so many information that we could just thank you. Not enough thank you for sharing all this information, and also the support of the consulate to the companies and entrepreneurs on the services of connecting to the Boston area ecosystem. And we also hope that someday Brazil will have some of those support programs, and that's something that we've been promoting from all these year. Thank you very much. From now, we will start with Oliver Sanchez from Boston Axel Hub. I see Oliver is already here with us, and I would just introduce you, Oliver, before we I give the floor to you. So Oliver is managing partner of Axel Hub and Axel Hub Venture Partners. Axel Hub supports technology entrepreneurs from Latin America looking to scale their company in the US through resources and capital. Axel Hub Venture Partners is an angel investment group that invests seed capital in technology ventures from Latin America with demonstrated growth and US market potential. He's also co-founder and CEO of ExtraSense Technologies Incorporated. ExtraSense is a software company that leverages artificial intelligence to identify pests. ExtraSense is transforming the way people consume pest control. Previously, Oliver co-founded Plug Cambridge. Plug Cambridge was a co-working office focusing on helping immigrant entrepreneurs plug to the local ecosystem. Plug Cambridge was acquired by German co-working operator Rent24 GmbH. Selected as one of the top 50 most daring entrepreneurs in the US by Entrepreneur Magazine in 2017. He also holds an MBA from Boston University. Oliver, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and joining us at the land2land Connect. And just by your introduction, I would say that you, or at least the work you've been doing is of interest of any entrepreneur that would want to connect with the Boston ecosystem. So I'm looking forward to hear what you brought to us. So thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Muito obrigado, Rodrigo. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me here, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. It's great to hear from the Consul General. There's so much information. Sometimes I forget how much opportunities there in Boston. So I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind now, so you can see my presentation. So before I start, I want to say that it's been a crazy 2020. But before 2020, there had been a lot of significant progress done around connecting different ecosystems from different parts of the world into Boston. And one of the things that I think has changed over the last several years, at least when I've been in Boston, is that when I first started working at Excel Hub, and we really wanted to, we always believe that the talent and creativity and innovation can come from everywhere, but that the resources, capital, and maybe network are concentrated at different parts of the world. So you're talking about the Silicon Valleys, the Boston, New Yorks. And it was always a dream to create a path for, talented people from LATAM to access the ecosystems across the United States, specifically Boston. And when we first, I remember if we first approached investors and potential partners, one of the first things that they would tell me, this is talking like 6-7 years ago, is, are you sure there's enough companies, enough talent to create a pipeline of startups? And me being from Mexico, I've traveled to Latin America, but actually my brothers live in Brazil, and I know the amount of talent and the quality of talent available in our countries, and it's great to see programs like this that create these connections, because I know that with opportunities, a lot of you great entrepreneurs will be very successful. So I'll talk a little bit about us very quickly, just what we do, and then also, Maria, I'm going to share some of the, I guess, lessons learned, some of the things we've learned with working with entrepreneurs from Latin America, specifically when they're trying to access Boston. So a little bit about us. As Rodrigo mentioned, we're a small advisory firm. We specialize in soft landing for LATAM tech companies. We've created custom acceleration programs working with governments. We connected to mentors, resources, and we prepare to raise capital. So, capital is always a big challenge in LATAM. I would say less so in Brazil than in other parts of LATAM, but still comparatively, it's still quite scarce. And one of the things we always say, entrepreneurs, we can only prepare you, we connect you to the right resources, connect to the right mentors, but ultimately the decision whether you're an investable company or not is not up to anybody but the investor themselves. But we've been very successful in hosting different entrepreneurs from different parts of LATAM, and I think the key for us is creating some clear value. So one is we focus on potential tech, on really high potential tech startups. We know the ecosystem in Boston is very competitive. Even though there's a lot of capital, there's also a lot of competition. So in order to really stand out here, you have to have something differentiated, and it has to be, it really has to attract the attention of the local market. The other part is, a lot of people underestimate the difference in culture between LATAM and the US. And even if you speak English, or, even if the investor speaks Portuguese, speaking the same language does not necessarily mean you understand the same business culture. So a lot of our programming is focused on helping you helping you become culturally fluent. So, which is different than the language fluency. And I'll tell you a little bit more down the presentation what that means. And then last year, we had a very successful program with startups from Mexico in 2019. And this led to a lot of interest from people in the ecosystem who wanted to invest in these type of companies, but didn't necessarily want to go to LATAM to invest. There were, there's a lot of, there's been a resurgence of very successful Latino or LATAM connected executives who want to invest in these companies, but don't necessarily want to go home or want to travel abroad to invest in them. And so we decided to launch an angel investment group. We're up to 40 members now. We just announced our first investment in an Argentinian company. And we really think beyond resources, early stage capital is what's needed for a lot of these companies to be successful. And, in the past, we've partnered with Mexico and Colombia to buy these programs, but, we'd love to at some point partner with Brazil as well. I'll talk to you a little bit how our accelerator or soft landing program works. Usually we'll work with local host governments in selecting the companies. I think selection of the companies is almost as important as the program itself. It's different. I'll talk about this in the presentation. What's interesting in LATAM might be slightly different to what's interesting in Boston. One what people consider traction and success and good metrics might be different, slightly different in the US. And so being able to help selecting the right companies is important. Usually we have a program that's based in the country of origin so that people don't spend a lot of time traveling to Boston and spending a lot of money there. And we'll usually spend 4 to 6 weeks in the US, specifically in Boston, where they'll meet with investors, technical mentors, other type of any kind of service provider you might want, and it culminates with a demo day or pitch day. Now, the key thing for us is we really believe that creating a network for you is the most important thing as an entrepreneur. The reason is most entrepreneurs, when they come into an ecosystem, the first thing they want to do is send a cold email, try to either raise money or close a deal. And the reality is that just like in Brazil, all this is based on relationships. And although the relationship building might be different in the US, you still need to build a relationship. So being able to connect people with the right mentors and the right relationships is just as important as the type of meetings that you're having. That's something to keep in mind for any of the entrepreneurs who are thinking of coming here. And I'll share a couple of the programs we had. Like I said, last year we've had a program with Mexico. We brought from 65 applicants. We had 6 companies come here. They had tons of meetings with mentors, tons of meetings with advisors, and it culminated in one final demo day where we had over 100 people attend, and 2 companies actually raised a round. This was unusual because a lot of these programs, I would never promise investment rounds, like I said, but there was so much interest in innovation, what's going on south of the border, what's going on in Latin America, that 2 other companies were lucky enough to raise some money. We're also working with a partner in Colombia, and we're doing a similar program with Colombia out of Medellin. Quickly about the team, we got a bunch of guys here who've been entrepreneurs themselves, raised money, exited companies, and more importantly, they understand the different culture, which is important here because I do think that you need to be conscious of what the difference in culture are, especially when hearing pitches for the first time, and really see the opportunity between that other investors might not see when you hear a pitch coming out of LATAM. So understanding different cultural differences, again, is kind of our trademark here. And our team is both very well versed and experienced entrepreneurs in that. A little about the press. I'm not going to bother you there. So the consul already explained in much more detail why the Boston ecosystem is super unique. And I'll just sum it up in this. You have within a 10-mile radius more talent, more capital, and more support than you would have in Silicon Valley. It's just concentrated. It's the quality and quantity is just not only comparable, it sometimes exceeds it. We're very close to Western Europe. It's a very short flight. And I think culturally we're very aligned, sometimes even more to LATAM than other places in the United States. So it's a great place to think about expanding in access and resources. And it's always top 2 or 3 in any ranking list that you might find in the US in terms of ecosystems. There's some sectors that are more mature than others. Of course, Boston is known for health, digital health, and life sciences. But there's other fantastic companies. All the big tech companies have offices here. There's some famous robotic companies, Boston Dynamics, that have a headquarters here. So there's pretty much a little bit of everything. What I've seen lately is growth in food tech and blue tech. So these are not traditionally sectors that were strong in Boston, but there's been a resurgence in innovation around food, the food supply, and anything that's coming out in ways to figure out the innovation around the water and ocean ways. And so that's something that's new. That's something that's interesting, and a lot of people are paying a lot of attention recently. So that's if you're in that space, Boston is also a good place for you to land. And I'll stop there, talk about ourselves. And I really wanted to share, take the rest of the time to share with you guys some of the challenges, some of the lessons learned, some lessons that we've learned working with entrepreneurs from LATAM, in hopes that this might be a challenge that maybe you're facing, and that maybe you don't have to make the same mistake. So one of the overarching challenge here is a translation, right? The cultural translation, and what does that mean? That means that there's communication differences when the way you share your idea, your company, your traction. There's a market difference, obviously, right? So, especially in health, the way people consume and buy health-related products in the U.S. is completely different to the way people consume in Latin America, in Brazil specifically. The way you show traction in the U.S. is different. How much money you need to raise is different because obviously you're spending in dollars, and you have to think about that. And the way you pitch even is slightly different. Now, I'll caveat here that say that from the pitches I've seen from different parts of the world, I would say Brazil's is quite close, especially the more advanced startups to the level I've seen in the U.S. and Europe. I think you guys done a great job of creating fantastic programs. You have some experienced entrepreneurs in the ecosystem already. So I've seen a very high quality pitches coming out of Brazil. But there's still, for the average entrepreneur coming out of different parts of the country, there's going to be substantial differences. One of the challenges that we face immediately when working with entrepreneur is that the communication style from LATAM to Boston changes. So what do we mean? So expectations when you communicate with somebody, how you approach somebody, the etiquette in emails is different. One of the things that prior to COVID-19 was very, very different is how you build relationships. So now people are very used to building relationships online, jumping on Zoom calls and so forth. I think before you really, I would say in LATAM, you really had to do in-person meetings. There was really more of a close network here in Latin America. And here you could really reach out to people via LinkedIn, via cold emails, and if you knew how to do it, if you had a good cold email intro, you could be very successful in getting those introductions. You didn't need to have a prior relationship. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing that people ask us a lot is, hey, I want to raise investment. I want to meet investors. And the one thing that we will say to all entrepreneurs coming from abroad is investors invest in lines, not dots. What does that mean? Each time you meet an investor is a dot in a line. And so you can't expect them to immediately invest in you the first time they meet you. But if you create a series of dots, a series of interactions with this investor, and these lines are positive trend, meaning you follow up with your email, you did what you said you were going to be, what you're going to do, you were on time, you create a positive, you reinforce that positive relationship we have with the investor. So when you come here, or if you're thinking about coming here, think about investing time and in relationships and meeting somebody multiple times as opposed to meeting them once and expecting them to give you money right away. I'm going to skip a little bit this, just in the interest of time. The other thing I'm going to jump to here is, if you're thinking of coming to the U.S. and you don't have a huge network, build your online presence. I can't remember how many times we've seen this where you're very successful entrepreneurs from LATAM, they don't have a LinkedIn profile, they don't have an AngelList profile, or Twitter and Facebook needs to be professional, needs to be business oriented. Obviously a website, that's a given. And there's a couple other platforms like FS6 and Gust that are used by angel investors to look for deals. And so these are all different platforms. So you should have a presence if you have a tech company looking to invest, looking to go to the United States. Of course, add me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to share my LinkedIn contact with Rodrigo and the rest of the team, and feel free to contact me after this event. Quickly jumping to challenges number 2 here is your market difference. The market differences between LATAM and the US is probably going to be some. You have to understand your customer. This is a classic example. Cat food. You have beautiful cat on the cover. the cat is not your customer. The cat doesn't buy the cat food. Your customer is a person buying the cat food, and the user is the cat. So understanding who really pays for your product versus who uses your product, especially as you jump to different markets, it's key. And a lot of people get tripped up because they confuse the user with your customer. 3, the way you demonstrate traction. What we see, some errors we see in Latin American startups when they show traction, or what traction means is they'll say, "Oh, I met with this very important brand," or "I have very important advisors," or "I won a lot of prizes," or "I have a lot of partners." Logo. I think what's important in the U.S. more than this is more of cultural traction, or more validation, if you will. Traction is should be really centered about product, revenue, and user. So how many users do you have revenue? Have you growth revenue? Have you grown revenue? And so those two things, I think a lot of times it's important to validate yourself from a cultural perspective. Here, less so. Here, what's more important is your traction on revenue and user growth. So here, I'll give some examples of what we consider traction. So terms like MRR, monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue, active users, downloaded users, letters of intent, contract signed, and of course, funds raised. The last one is how much money should we raise? So I give you here an average sample of the average seed round and Series A round in US versus LATAM. So in Latin America, the average seed round is around 500K. Here we're talking about 2.2 million. And the A round average in the US is around 11 million. So the values are substantially different, and there's a reason for it. Obviously, the costs here are larger. And so when you come here, if you're looking to raise money and you're looking to stay in the United States, you have to be cognizant about the difference in cost structures, and also, what you're asking an investor the money for. Ask for money to achieve goals in your product, your revenue, and your users, and don't ask for money just to survive for 2-3 months or 6 months. People do not give you money just so you can survive for a couple months. So we'll leave it at that, and I think we had some time for questions if you're able to.
Well, Oliver, thank you very much. I saw a lot of valuable information, and also very important tips that you shared with us on the how to connect with the US, and also Boston ecosystem. It was great. Thank you. I hope we have more interaction and some questions from our audience. And thank you very much for sharing your all the information you shared to us.
Thank you, Rodrigo.
Following our presentations, the next one here is Mr. Manuel Mendes from Boston Innovation Gateway. And yes, he's already here. Just introducing Mr. Manuel Mendes. His focus is on areas of innovation and international business development at a global level. From Boston, where he's based and acts as co-founder of the Boston Innovation Gateway and partner of the IXL Center. Both organizations present on 4 continents and 14 countries. Business administrator, postgraduate in retail management from PUC São Paulo, and project management from UFRJ, an MBA from Holt International Business School, and specialization in business strategy from Harvard University. In 2014, Manuel was highlighted by Harvard University and signed an article published in the Harvard Business Review due to the conception of innovation and entrepreneurship project that aims to stimulate U.S. international trade. which originated the International Consultancy and Development Hub, Boston Innovation Gateway, of which he co-founded. Also participated in the implementation of a pioneering SME acceleration program worldwide, which has helped more than 800 Colombian SMEs since 2014, and has become one of the largest initiatives of these kinds globally. Manuel also serves as member of the executive board of the Harvard Extension Entrepreneurship Association. Manuel, thank you very much for joining us. And the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo, for the introduction. I don't know if you prefer for me to go in English or in Portuguese. What do you prefer?
It's really up to you. Well, we've all been doing in English also because of all our guests and speakers, but as the audience mainly is Brazilian, you could do it in Portuguese, no problem.
Okay. So, I'll switch to Portuguese now. Antes de mais nada, queria agradecer ao convite feito pelo Roberto e pela Anprotec, parceiros aí de algumas datas. A Apex, que é também nossa parceira, fizemos recentemente aí um programa aqui em Boston com startups brasileiras. O Sebrae, que nesse momento a gente vem fazendo aí programas no Brasil com eles, e dizer que é um prazer estar aqui falando depois do Oliver, que é um amigo nosso aqui do ecossistema de Boston. Então, é um prazer estar aqui com todos vocês hoje, e o nosso objetivo é falar um pouquinho sobre o que são os programas de aceleração que nós temos para ajudar empresas a se internacionalizarem. Queria só confirmar, Rodrigo, o nosso tempo aqui aproximadamente 15 minutos, é isso?
Exato, 15, 20 minutos.
Perfeito. Então, eu vou compartilhar aqui a minha tela e daí a gente começa a apresentação. Deixa eu visualizar aqui. Vocês já conseguem visualizar a minha tela, não é isso? Você consegue visualizar a minha tela, Rodrigo?
Sim, perfeitamente.
Perfeito. Vou tentar tirar aqui o modo de apresentação do lado. Então, a gente vai falar um pouco sobre a maneira correta de uma empresa se internacionalizar, como as empresas podem acelerar esse processo de internacionalização. E antes de iniciar, a gente precisa só dar um pouco de contexto e dizer de onde vem essas histórias ou esse conhecimento que nós vamos dividir com a nossa audiência de hoje. Então, a Boston Innovation Gateway já foi apresentada pelo Rodrigo, não vou me alongar, mas ela nasceu justamente de uma ideia, de uma tese que nós realizamos em Harvard, tentando estimular o empreendedorismo e a internacionalização de empresas brasileiras, e a gente fez uma parceria com uma empresa genuinamente bostoniana, a Excel Center, que é um centro de inovação, na verdade, com presença em 4 continentes, e a lógica por trás dessa aliança foi exatamente porque o XL Center é um líder global na área de inovação, e vocês vão entender um pouquinho mais na sequência qual a importância da inovação para uma empresa que está se internacionalizando. Então, eu vou tentar ser bem breve e objetivo e falar basicamente sobre 2 pontos. O que a gente deve fazer e como a gente deve fazer no caso dessas empresas que desejam se internacionalizar. Nós vamos ter hoje como foco do nosso bate-papo aqui a internacionalização de empresas, mas a gente também tem um trabalho relativamente extenso com pessoas físicas, pessoas que querem iniciar um negócio fora dos Estados Unidos e até mesmo com governos e agências de fomento e associações empresariais. Então, do ponto de vista de empresas, o que a gente vê baseado na nossa experiência aí já com mais de 200 internacionalizações a nível global? As empresas, normalmente, o objetivo número 1 é acesso a novos mercados, né? Naturalmente, existem benefícios decorrentes desse acesso ao novo mercado, que geralmente passa por valorização da marca e aumento de competitividade. E aí as pessoas perguntam, como assim? Como que a gente pode aumentar a competitividade da nossa empresa internacionalizando? Nós temos aqui 4 pontos que nós vemos que toda empresa, no momento que se internacionaliza, consegue evoluir. O primeiro são parcerias estratégicas, parcerias no âmbito de investimento, como o Oliver estava falando, no âmbito de troca de experiência, de know-how, a gente tem acesso a capital de baixo custo, a gente tem transferência de tecnologia e, inclusive, muitas empresas fazem uma transferência de pessoas entre países, porque existem pessoas que vão se capacitar vindo aos Estados Unidos, se o objetivo for os Estados Unidos, e vice-versa, pessoas americanas que vão agregar no seu país de origem nesse negócio. Então, esses são normalmente os objetivos, o que os clientes normalmente querem quando fazem esse processo de internacionalização. E com quem esses clientes devem se internacionalizar. Então, a gente coloca alguns pontos aqui que eu considero chave no momento em que uma empresa está se internacionalizando, e o primeiro ponto é a capacidade de conectividade desse cliente. Tá? A gente tem uma visão privilegiada porque nós estamos em 4 continentes e a gente consegue conectar empresas do Canadá com o Brasil, da Colômbia com os Estados Unidos, de Barcelona com Xangai, por aí vai. E essa capacidade de conexão ela é muito importante porque o que uma empresa tem de possibilidade de ganho de competitividade no mercado, normalmente ele pode ser transferido para outro. O segundo ponto é a experiência, né? Como o Oliver estava falando anteriormente, não é fácil uma empresa internacionalizar, tá certo? Mas quando você já fez esse processo de internacionalização repetidas vezes, você acaba adquirindo um conhecimento, uma experiência, que ele é transferido de uma empresa para outra e você reduz a curva de aprendizagem. Então, a gente consegue entender claramente, baseado em portes de empresas diversas com quem nós trabalhamos e baseado com indústrias, ou seja, segmentos de atividades diversos, que esse conhecimento ele é facilmente replicável. Aqui a gente colocou apenas algumas empresas que nós temos como cliente no Brasil, e a gente vai desde startups que são disruptivas na sua área de energias renováveis, de educação digital, passando por empresas de robótica, até gigantes como Natura, Kenner, e por aí vai. O outro ponto que também é importante, o terceiro ponto, é a questão das conexões que essas empresas têm. O Oliver falou aí a respeito disso anteriormente, a importância que a gente tem de poder conectar os nossos clientes com o ecossistema onde eles estão entrando, porque a relação também importa aqui. É lógico que os países latino-americanos são muito dirigidos a essa questão do contato pessoal, de desenvolver uma relação para depois fazer negócio. Aqui nos Estados Unidos é um pouco diferente, é muito mais straightforward, como eles chamam, mas, na verdade, todos os países necessitam dessa confiança ou dessa credibilidade para se iniciar um negócio e acelerar essa entrada no mercado. E daí a gente também considera muito importante você ter um time de experts ou de especialistas que tenham diversas qualificações, e eu vou explicar o porquê depois, mas é fundamental você ter pessoas que possam se complementar em diversas expertises que uma empresa necessita quando está internacionalizando, seja ela uma startup, seja ela uma média ou uma grande empresa. E aí eu já vou entrando no como, e o como é onde eu acho que está aqui o maior objetivo desse bate-papo e dessa transferência de conhecimento, que é o que nós aprendemos ao longo desses anos internacionalizando empresas. O primeiro ponto é que empresas, independente do porte, elas podem fazer esse processo de internacionalização mais rápido. E é isso que nós chamamos de aceleração, é o fato de que uma empresa, ao invés de levar 1 a 2 anos para se internacionalizar, que é o que acontece na média, nós conseguimos reduzir esse tempo para de 6 meses a 1 ano, né? E mais importante que isso, a gente consegue reduzir a exposição de caixa dessas empresas, porque é muito importante a gente tentar fazer esse processo de internacionalização com o mínimo de exposição de caixa possível e a maior assertividade possível, naturalmente. Então, nós entendemos que toda empresa, no processo de internacionalização, tem 3 fases, que a gente chama de pré-lançamento, lançamento e pós-lançamento, e cada fase dessa tem formas de poder se acelerar esse processo de entrada no mercado. O segundo ponto, que também é importante frisar, é que esse processo de entrada em um novo mercado, ele é um processo muito similar a montar um novo negócio no Brasil, ou montar um novo negócio nos Estados Unidos. Por quê? Porque você está entrando em um primeiro mercado pela primeira vez, e nesse primeiro mercado que você está entrando, tudo é novo para você. O cliente que você vai vender para ele é novo, o produto que você vai vender, ele vai precisar de adaptações, as pessoas que você vai contratar geralmente são novas, então tudo isso são complexidades que você precisa gerir da mesma forma como se você estivesse montando um primeiro negócio. E a gente tem aqui muitos casos, a gente tem casos de clientes que são gigantes no seu país de origem, mas a primeira coisa que a gente fala é: esqueça tudo que você fez antes e aqui você vai começar como uma pequena empresa ou uma startup de novo. Porque se você erra grande, naturalmente o prejuízo é muito maior. Então é muito importante você começar pequeno, com a mentalidade de startup ou de lean startup, e você, à medida que for aprendendo e evoluindo, você vai aumentando a sua tomada de risco. Então, esse ponto é muito importante, vão existir obstáculos nessa entrada no novo mercado, e existem formas, ferramentas de você minimizar a velocidade, o investimento e você conseguir ser mais efetivo. O ponto-chave de todo o processo de internacionalização que a gente vê é você conseguir o primeiro cliente. Muitas empresas estão preocupadas em pensar no business plan, em pensar em contratar um advogado, um contador. Abrir a empresa é fácil. Seguir as leis trabalhistas, tributárias, jurídicas é muito fácil. As regras são muito claras. Mas conseguir o primeiro cliente é realmente o grande desafio. E aí é nisso que o processo de aceleração tem que focar, e essa é eu diria que é a grande dica que eu deixo aqui para vocês, é focar em conseguir o primeiro cliente, o resto é muito fácil. E como que a gente faz isso? Como que a gente consegue esse primeiro cliente? A gente tem que tentar estar dentro de uma plataforma onde a gente vai poder ser apoiado por todos os lados, e a gente, como empresa, nós tentamos emular essa plataforma, onde a gente conecta diversos mercados com oportunidades de negócios a empresas e os recursos que essas empresas precisam acessar para que possam se internacionalizar. Então, os recursos, quais são eles? Você vai precisar de um advogado, você vai precisar de um contador, você vai precisar de capital, você vai precisar de conexões institucionais, como o Departamento de Comércio nos Estados Unidos, as próprias entidades que estão aqui promovendo esse evento, uma empresa de marketing para poder reposicionar a sua estratégia. Ou seja, o ideal é que você esteja dentro de um hub que tenha todas as conexões, porque isso vai agilizar muito a sua velocidade e assertividade. E aí a gente lista aqui, nesse slide, algumas das competências básicas que esse hub deve ter, né? Primeiro, esse hub deve ter pessoas que entendam de estratégia. Por quê? porque o posicionamento estratégico que você vai ter no mercado que você vai entrar é fundamental para o seu sucesso. Precisa ter capacidade de inovação, porque você vai precisar adaptar o seu modelo de negócio ou, eventualmente, o seu produto e serviço. Precisa de marketing e vendas. Primeiro, porque você vai precisar refazer algumas coisas que você tem dentro do seu marketing, alinhado com o mercado de destino. E segundo, porque, como o Oliver falou, as pessoas nos Estados Unidos gostam de falar com americanos no momento da venda. Por mais que seja válido você ter o CEO da empresa ou o empreendedor do lado de uma pessoa dos Estados Unidos, ter uma pessoa com base nos Estados Unidos gera muito credibilidade no momento da venda. Você precisa de gestão de projeto. Normalmente, a gente tenta fazer esses projetos num curto prazo e você precisa ter essa capacidade de gestão muito azeitada. A questão jurídica, contratos, sociedade, constituição de empresa, como você vai ter impacto na carga tributária a partir do seu momento de internacionalização. Tudo isso são questões necessárias que você precisa ter em vista quando você vai fazer o processo de internacionalização. Mas a dica é o seguinte, pode parecer complexo, mas quando a pessoa começa a fazer, ela vê que as coisas aqui funcionam muito mais fáceis do que em países da América Latina em geral. A gente atua no Chile, na Argentina, na Colômbia, na América Central, e a gente vê que, de forma geral, fazer negócio na América Latina é muito mais complexo do que fazer nos Estados Unidos. Por último, é importante essa empresa, esse empresário, entender quais são as fases pelas quais ele vai passar e ter um parceiro ou uma empresa assessorando ele em todas essas fases. Não é só a concepção de um business plan. A gente costuma dizer que nunca o negócio sai tal qual o business plan. Então, é sim fazer um business plan, mas ter a capacidade de pivotar esse business plan e adaptar à medida que você vai seguindo na sua trajetória. E daí eu entro especificamente em como a gente pode, quais são os tipos de formato em que a gente pode usar para poder ajudar essas empresas que estão em processo de internacionalização. Basicamente, nós temos programas, esses programas eles giram em torno de 3 meses, e esses programas eles foram pensados e são realizados de acordo com a necessidade de cada cliente, com o porte de cada cliente. Então, nós temos, normalmente, o nosso foco são médias empresas. Nós temos feito muitos trabalhos para startups e pequenas empresas, apoiado por entidades governamentais ou associações empresariais, porque muitas vezes essas startups ou PMEs, elas precisam de ajuda, elas precisam de apoio, principalmente financeiro. Então, falando aqui sobre os 3 modelos que nós temos de formato de entrega, o primeiro é o que a gente chama de faça com o seu time. O que é faça com o seu time? É um formato híbrido, onde nós temos consultores da nossa empresa ajudando o time do cliente a fazer esse processo de internacionalização. E isso é muito positivo para aquelas empresas que não têm capital suficiente para fazer o processo de internacionalização e tem um CEO diligente que irá fazer ou atuar nesse processo de internacionalização. É lógico que esse modelo ele exige um maior comprometimento em contrapartida do menor investimento e ele tem resultados limitados porque o resultado depende muito da atuação do CEO da empresa ou do time da empresa que está fazendo o processo de internacionalização. Esse modelo ele funciona hoje no modelo 100% digital, onde a maior parte desses 3 meses a gente faz com o nosso cliente no Brasil e uma parte desses 3 meses a gente faz com o nosso time nos Estados Unidos. Ou seja, a gente também evita o custo de viagem e a gente só mantém o custo de viagem se o cliente quiser explorar o país de destino. Depois, o segundo modelo é um modelo que também é um modelo bastante diferenciado pela nossa empresa. Nós temos uma parceria com mais de 150 universidades a nível global, e essa parceria nos permite fazer competições entre 5 universidades em mercados distintos para que a gente possa buscar a melhor estratégia de entrada para os nossos clientes. Num país como os Estados Unidos, de tamanho continental, onde cada estado é um país independente, você tem uma grande vantagem se você faz uma pesquisa de entrada no mercado com 5 universidades, porque a maioria dos nossos clientes acham que a primeira porta de entrada é a Flórida, mas quando você tem uma equipe na Flórida, uma equipe na Califórnia, uma equipe na Nova Inglaterra, uma equipe no Centro-Oeste, você consegue ter uma visão muito maior das oportunidades que o país pode lhe oferecer. Por quê? Porque a gente fala que o mais importante não é ir para o mercado maior, ou que tem maior potencial, o mais importante é penetrar no mercado que você tem mais diferencial e mais vantagem competitiva. Então, muitas vezes, é melhor você ir para o Centro-Oeste, como foi o caso de uma empresa de robótica que nós atendemos recentemente, do que você ir para Nova York ou para a Flórida. Então, esse tipo de coisas a gente consegue visualizar nesse modelo de internacionalização em parceria com universidades. E, por último, a gente tem um modelo que a gente chama Deixe Conosco. Qual é o modelo Deixe Conosco? É um modelo onde médias e grandes empresas nos procuram, e nesse modelo a gente faz todo o processo de preparação da empresa, de recrutamento do time, de execução das vendas, até mesmo de operações. E aí a gente passa o bastão para a empresa quando a operação já está madura o suficiente para que essa empresa possa seguir com as próprias pernas. Então, a gente tem diferentes modelos de entrega para diferentes bolsos e diferentes necessidades de clientes, mas sempre com o objetivo de acelerar a entrada no mercado, reduzir o risco e reduzir a necessidade de investimento. Com isso, Rodrigo, eu tentei cumprir aqui os nossos 15 minutos, tá? E fico aí à disposição para perguntas e contatos também. Fico à disposição e será um prazer conectar com as pessoas que quiserem mais informações a respeito do que a gente apresentou hoje.
Obrigado, Manuel. Informações extremamente interessantes e importantes, como um passo a passo para aqueles que estão buscando internacionalização. Switching back to English, also it was a great presentation, just giving tips on a walkthrough to the process of internationalization for a company, and some important points and relevant things to be noted to any entrepreneur that wants to start the internationalization process. Very valuable information, Manuel. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. Now we go to Mary Meslin from the Capital Network. It's a venture capital for startups. I see Mary. Hello. I'll just introduce you quickly. Mary is the executive director of the Capital Network. Capital Network is a non-profit that aims to democratize access to funding. Capital Network provides practical hands-on education and personalized mentoring for investors and experts to help demystify the funding process.
Big words.
Yeah.
We didn't make it easy for you.
Of early stage entrepreneurs. The TCN wants all entrepreneurs to make informed decisions to their businesses by giving them the resources and education to understand and the network to make it happen. In 2016, Mary funded TCN's Female Founders Fellowship Program to engage and support more female founders through TCN's resources. To date, they have supported 60+ female founders, 50% of which are founders of color. 43% of the founders have gone on to raise over $12 million total. Mary serves as judge or mentor for several organizations, including Mass Challenge, Founders Institute, WingLab, Founders Live, Rich Entrepreneurs, and etc. Mary has previously worked with innovation consultancies such as What If and Difference Co-Creation, helping Fortune 500 and small nonprofit alike solve key issues through the creative process. Originally from France and having grown up in the UK, moved to the Middle East, and now living in the US. She's always looking for the great food and a cup of tea. All right, thank you.
What
I
an
will say
introduction.
Mary, and now I know that it's Marie.
It's
So,
Marie.
yeah, now, okay, since you're from France, it's Marie.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Marie, for being with us and accepting this invitation. By resume, I see lots of things and lots of doing, and a life dedicated to entrepreneurship and helping entrepreneurs. So great. I'm looking forward to hear what you bring to us. Thank you very much. And Zoom is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. So I know I sent Maria some slides, but I'm happy to use the ones I have and share unless you guys have it all in a process.
No, yeah, you can share your screen.
I'll just share my screen. Okay,
yeah.
Great. Let's do that. Okay. All right, let's do it as. So, hey, everyone. I'll say welcome to Boston. I know you've spoken to a lot of people this morning, but what I want to talk about today is about what we do, which is supporting entrepreneurs in the Massachusetts and New England area around fundraising. The first thing any entrepreneur is going to tell you when you talk to them is, I need money, right? And as you probably have heard this morning, Boston is one of the best places to raise for certain kinds of sectors. It is the third largest market for VC funding, and it is the second largest, I believe. It might also be the third now, but it was at some point the second market for angel funding. So it is a place that is well known for having money, for investing in early stage founders. So we at the Capital Network, what we focus on is really supporting entrepreneurs. So we want them to understand what it means to fundraise, what their options are. We do not say that the best thing for a company to do is raise money. We actually say it's really difficult. And so if you are going to do it, you need to really, really be prepared and know what you're going up against. Most startups, as you probably all know, are not going to get funding. So the idea is really, let's educate them, let's get them to meet investors and mentors to help them figure out what's the best thing for them or for their business, and have access to people they probably wouldn't have had access to otherwise. That's why we're saying fundraising is hard, but you don't have to do it alone. That's why we're here. We are a nonprofit. We don't select companies. Anyone can come to us at any time. We really want to make this as accessible as we possibly can. So what we do is we have created a series of programs and content and workshops, boot camps, all of those things to kind of explain to people what their options are. So in America, you have something called the SBIR, which is government-funded grants, which a lot of people in the sciences tend to go for, or EdTech, and that is non-dilutive funding from the government. So you can get millions and millions of dollars, but it's a very difficult, long, slow process, as dealing with the government often is. So that's an option. We also teach about revenue-based financing, where investors get a portion of your sales. We talk about angel and VC funding. We also talk about crowdfunding, so a debt from a bank. So any of the options that you might have. We work a lot with local accelerators too. So we actually teach programming for their accelerators, as well as having programming that's open to everyone. And then we do a lot of programming around angel and VC funding, because that is the portion that is the most mysterious for entrepreneurs, the one they want to understand the most, and the one that's, you know, very difficult to learn anywhere else. This is not something you get taught at business school if you're lucky enough to have gone to business school. And for first-time founders, it's a very mysterious process where the power balance is very much to the advantage of the investor. So we want to change that balance and make sure that entrepreneurs come into a conversation really prepared and confident. So that means we also help talk about financial projections, valuations, term sheets, cap tables, due diligence process, what all those things look like. And we have a 3-step process where we help them with that pitch. So we'll do a pitch workshop, then we'll match them one-on-one with an investor so they can get a review of that pitch. And then we'll get them to pitch in front of a few different investors in the ecosystem, not for a formal pitch, but to really test out what a real pitch would be and get feedback from investors. So that way they are the most prepared they can be if they are asked to come and pitch in front of a group. So the idea is really building knowledge and confidence. We don't care about sectors because in the US, except maybe if you're a pharma company or deep into the biotech maybe, most of the fundraising process is the same whatever sector you are, right? So if you're looking for angel and VC, the steps are going to be the same no matter what. Again, except maybe if you're in the pharmaceutical sector, which has a few different regulations that you need to know about. We mostly focus on Massachusetts and New England, but because of COVID, and we used to do programming really in person so that the connections that people made were, just a little stronger, but we've had to move everything online. So now actually we've grown and a lot of people come to us from all over the US and even internationally. We also do a lot of this, right? A lot of programming on delegations coming from overseas who really want to understand what fundraising is like in Boston and Massachusetts and the US in general. So we do a lot of workshops on those as well. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide because I bet you've already heard this, right? Like Massachusetts is a great place to come and build a company. We obviously have access to a bunch of talent with all the universities. It's a very educated workforce. There's a lot of money here, a lot of jobs here, a lot of tax incentives to also help people fund companies. There's one that's just been released around tax incentive for angel investors so they can make some money back when they invest in certain types of companies. So there's definitely a strong local economy. However, that strong local economy is very much skewed to be funding white male entrepreneurs. This probably won't come as a shock to you. So we do a lot of work with everyone, but we also focus on women and we focus on founders of color to try and, adjust that balance of who gets funding and who gets access to this group of people. So this is just a little bit, just to remind you that New England is third in, the overall kind of deal count of VCs. It looks pretty similar, probably a little higher even for the angels population. So we're not the biggest region, but definitely the most established. Investors have been investing here for a really long time. Again, not a surprise because of all the companies that come out of big universities and institutions. So, this is some of the things that we talk about, we deal mostly with early stage organizations. So we help them figure out, where they should be getting their money from, what the opportunities are, and I'll direct you to the hybrid models that's just underneath here. So there's a lot of really new ways of funding that are coming out. One of the ones that's really been gaining a lot of traction, especially with women and Black and brown founders, is revenue-based financing. It's also called royalty-based financing, which is about getting a portion of your investment back through sales. So it has like a staggered approach, which means a better access for a lot of different kinds of companies that might not necessarily be the kind of traditional big high growth that angels and VCs are typically looking for. So we're really looking at what's coming out in terms of the pipeline for entrepreneurs to know about. So we sit at a weird place in the ecosystem, or at least a very interesting place, because we help entrepreneurs. We sit at the middle of helping founders. We obviously work with a lot of angel and groups and VCs to teach the programming, to mentor, to help all these entrepreneurs. We are funded by service providers, so lawyers, CPA firms, all of the groups that also help with startups and help them understand what the process is. And then we have mentors. We work with other community organizations and other accelerators to really try and bring all those groups together. Like, one of the main things that we do isn't just about education or just about confidence building or access to investors. It's about how do we bring all these people doing separate things together to have wider conversations. I think one of the things that we've seen in the last 8 or so months, is everybody that's been trying to figure out solutions for COVID, for Black Lives Matter, for different things on their own. And we're trying to bring all these people together so that the ecosystem as a whole can move forward, and we're not just all doing things in our separate silos. So that's a big part of, us. We've been, around for about 25 plus years, so we're really established in the ecosystem as well. So these are all the different times I think I talked about briefly about that we teach about. So all of the different, so equity crowdfunding is also another one that's been coming up steadily. And there's a couple of groups that we work with in Boston around that. Crowdfunding, SBIR, Grants, Angel VC, RBF, and then debt. So any type of first capital coming in is what we teach entrepreneurs. So we work with a lot of groups. These are some community groups, VC groups, angel groups that we work with in the area. So some of them are dedicated to just investment, others to women, others clean tech. Like we work, like I said, we're sector agnostic, so we will work with everyone. I know Joan Popolo was on this call. We've worked with her before too. So we really try and bring all these groups together. So before I get into the Fellowship for Female Founders, one of the main things that we want to do is help entrepreneurs understand what angels and VCs expect, are looking for, want to see from them. It's really about giving the insider perspective. So when we talk about, when we talk to our founders, it's not just about being technically ready, right? Do you have the right documents? Do you have your legal stuff sorted? Do you have your financials in place? Which everyone needs help with, and that's what we help with. But there's a lot of intangibles that we have to coach them on. One of the main things is that most entrepreneurs come in and are so excited about their idea that they forget they're running a business. And so we actually have to redirect them when they talk about their pitch, especially when it comes to people in the sciences or researchers or academics. They are so focused on the solution that they're providing that they're really forgetting to express all of their story and the startup in a business sense, right? Investors are obviously looking for return on their money. They need to be excited by the idea, but it also needs to make financial sense, right? And so a lot of times we have to help entrepreneurs shift the way that they talk about their business to really focus on how is this going to make money? Who is going to buy this? What are the returns going to be like? So they can tell a full and complete story about their business, not just the idea. So that's a big thing we talk about with them. One of the other things we talk to them about being ready for VC investment is also has a lot to do with communication. So, a lot of entrepreneurs are so excited about their business that they think everyone else is going to be excited too. And that's great. I mean, the enthusiasm is really helpful. But what the balance needs to be is when you're starting a relationship with investors, it really needs to be a two-way street. These are people you're going to spend probably about a decade at least with. So it's not just about entrepreneurs looking for an investor at whatever cost. It's really about finding the right fit, right? And so we have to also help entrepreneurs take some of that power back in terms of understanding that they need to find the right fit for their business, not just money at all costs. When we've seen people in the position to just take whatever money comes in, we've seen that go very, very badly, right? Because they haven't really understood how that investor works. And so we help entrepreneurs think about when you're looking for an investor, you really need to interview them. You need to think about what other companies they've invested in. You need to think about talking to people that they've invested in where things have gone bad, right? Like understand how they react when things don't go the right way, because things are going to go wrong at some point, right? It's inevitable. This is entrepreneurship. It's not an easy process. So we're really helping them focus their attention on how to find the right fit. And the way that you do that is by, spending time with somebody, interviews, conversations. And from an investor perspective, it's the same thing. So it's not just about having the right answers from an entrepreneur perspective. Investors don't expect you to have all the answers all the time. What they do expect from you is if they have a suggestion for you to go away, think about it, and understand why it may or may not be the right thing for their business, right? Investors are not looking for somebody to say yes to them all the time about whatever suggestion they might have, but they want to find somebody who's coachable. That's a big thing in the investor community, right? Can this person be talked to? Will they listen to what I have to say? Not expect them to put into place, but have a good reason why or why not they would go this direction. That's a very important aspect of having a good, strong investor relationship. Because, you know, even knowing all the steps which we talk about, you know, due diligence, what are the right steps, what do the documents need to have, forming a real relationship is the biggest part of investment that people don't pay enough attention to. And that's why part of our job is to bring access to groups that probably wouldn't have had access to because they don't come from big universities, because they don't have those people in their lives already. So that's a big thing that we focus on. So I'm going to go to the next slide and talk a little bit about the Fellowship of Female Founders. And then I'm super happy to answer questions. I think a lot of times I don't want this to just be like me talking for 20 minutes. Like I'd rather have like questions, you know, about what the ecosystem is like, what investment is like, all of those things. So I'll do a quick rundown of this particular program that we have, where in 2016, I just was looking around to who was coming at our programming. And basically I was looking at a lot of young and older men. That's basically who was in the room. And as we know, this is an issue that's been going on for a long time. So in 2016, we decided to create a program just for women. And that is, that's the only program we have where we actually select companies. Everything else is open to everybody, but this is the only program where we actually select companies and investors do that for us. And we'll take 10 to 15 women for 6 months. I mean, through COVID, we've actually extended it to 9 months because everybody needs a little bit of extra help, right? And the idea is really to get these women, not necessarily to raise money, not all of them know that that's the path they want to take, but again, to create a strong network of women entrepreneurs so they have a group that they can go with, to create connections with investors they wouldn't have had to, and to create, you know, to give them more support and education as they go through it. So it's really to build their confidence and their knowledge. We make sure that 50% of the women we pick are women of color. We also make sure that some women that we pick have not gone through accelerators. We also make sure that some women that we pick have not gone through MIT or Harvard or all the big universities. Again, Boston is a really established ecosystem. So we want to have a nice balance between women who have access and women who don't. And that kind of makes the ecosystem a lot more supportive and a lot wider. So that's the reason behind that. So I'm, again, super happy to take questions. If anyone has questions about the ecosystem, what's going on in Boston, what are some of the things you're curious about when it comes to funding and what we do here.
Great, Marie, thank you very much for your presentation. It's really, really interesting. The service and the activities you're doing. I am particularly very interested in social impact businesses and innovation. We have a group at Anprotec that promotes social businesses, and I would like to give you some more minutes to talk about also as a network to promote that promotes connection to investors, and having been doing special activities in women entrepreneurship and also colored entrepreneurship and in a way with social entrepreneurs. Do you have any special program or any activity on social impact businesses? Those businesses, not where the entrepreneur is in the social vulnerability, but the business itself is oriented to solving social problems and sustainable things. So how are you working on that?
Yeah, we don't. And one of the reasons is because, again, fundraising education, it does not matter what sector you're in. Like the process is going to be the same. Having access to investors is going to be the same. So we've never done sector-specific programming. In the past, we have done some life sciencey stuff, because again, that's slightly different. The issue too is social impact is a word that's defined very differently by every person that you'll talk to. So social impact for you will mean something different to social impact for me. So we haven't set that aside. We've kind of just been able to kind of integrate it with everybody that that we already work with. But some investors we work with do look at the double bottom line, right? They want to make sure that they are investing in a business that's going to make money, but that also has a wider social goal. So we do partner with some accelerators that do think about that. We also partner with accelerators like the Cleantech Open that really focuses on clean energy and kind of those kinds. So that can be defined as social impact, right? So there's different groups that we work with that already take care of that. So we're very conscious that whatever we create has to be something that's not already out there. Because there's no point in reinventing the wheel. It's much better to partner than to create something from scratch if it's already out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you.
So, and I know I know there was like everything's pushed back a little, so I don't know how much time we have left. So let me know if there's a last question you want to ask. Or I saw Joan's face pop up briefly. Hi, Joan.
Yeah, we actually are about 10 minutes over the schedule.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I still have some. Okay, we have a question for you. Now they are popping up. I was pushing people to do some questions. So Alvaro Almeida said, "Hi, Mary. You've mentioned you guys helping people from abroad. Could you please share a bit of their stories or experience?" So just telling some stories of experience on these companies from abroad that was helped by your institution.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone has access to our programming. So, from that sense, you can be from anywhere and want to understand more about kind of the New England fundraising process. So, we do get some people from all over the place. We have partnered, and I think you spoke to him earlier, Oliver, from Axel Hub. So they bring Latin American companies. And so we actually provide programming for those companies when they come over on the fundraising side. And, we've done that for a few Latin American groups, some Australian groups, so when people have delegations or accelerators that have an international component, then we can provide some programming for that. I mean, it's, coming from abroad into the US is not easy, and no investor, we work a lot with angels, and no angel investor is going to really want to invest in a company that's not somehow US based, and more likely not New England based. Angels are very much, dedicated to helping their local community. It's not just about the money, but it really is about the mentorship that they can bring and the connections they can bring within a locale. Now, this may change because of the way that we're communicating now, the way things are going. But so getting that first money in can be a lot more challenging. And obviously, you have to come in, do a flip if you're already established somewhere else. So like create a subsidiary that's based out of the US to be able to establish yourself and start raising money here. So it's not like, we've seen companies do this, but it's usually companies that are really well established somewhere else. Or we work with groups like Oliver's that, are going to be bringing a cohort and taking those companies through a process that are ready to kind of think about moving to the US.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will now pass to Joan. And we still have some questions coming up. And at the end, if we still have some time, I would just also open these questions for all of you. And let me now introduce you.
Yeah, and feel free to share my email with anyone. I have to pop off. But thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marie.
Bye.
Well, Joan Popolo from Action Innovation Network, Soft Landing. Thank you, Joan, very much for joining us and being here. I would just quickly introduce you. Joan serves as Executive Director of Action Innovation Network, a New England-based network of technology business incubator and other entrepreneur support organizations focused on the sectors of clean tech, life science, robotics, marine and maritime, advanced materials in the aerospace. Actions hosts program for international growth stage companies as they explore US market entry opportunities. Prior to her work at Action, Ms. Popolo has worked with the MIT Enterprise Forum of Cambridge and Northeast Cleantech Open Accelerator programs, supporting early stage ventures Joan began her career as a research scientist in agriculture biotechnology group at Biotechna International, an early Cambridge, Massachusetts startup company. She holds business in plant science and horticulture from Cornell University, and master's in plant science from Michigan State University. Joan, thank you very much for joining us. I'm looking forward to your presentation, and especially since you have activities on the aerospace sector. That's what we have here where I come from, and the technical park that I represent here as well. So thank you very much for accepting the invitation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to be here to talk to you all this morning. First of all, I'd like to say that you've had great information from the prior speakers. And so there's a lot thrown at you all at once. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I guess I'll start to share my slides. Okay, I hope you can all see that. Yes, so we're the region's network of technology incubators. We are a nonprofit, membership-based organization of technology business incubators and other entrepreneur support organizations throughout the greater Boston and New England region. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different bent this morning and talk to you about what's going on in greater Boston and the eastern seaboard of New England. So in our organization, we share best practices to accelerate the success of startups developing technologies in the areas that Rodrigo had already mentioned: life sciences, robotics, clean tech, advanced materials, ocean and maritime, and aerospace. And our geography runs really from southern Maine, mostly in Massachusetts, a little bit into central Connecticut and into Rhode Island, if you're familiar with the geography of New England. We share best practices for incubator management so that our incubators can become the best incubators they can be to support early stage companies. On the international side, we offer industry-specific pre-landing programs for international scale-up companies exploring US market entry opportunities here in the industry sectors that I've previously mentioned. And I'd like to give you a little tour of what's happening in the region and where the industry sectors are really based. I mean, you've heard a lot this morning about Boston and Cambridge, but as you know, Boston and Cambridge can get pretty saturated, and companies like to start expanding beyond the Boston and Cambridge region into other areas that are also very dense with industry clusters. And so just to speak about a few of those this morning, I'm going to start up in southern Maine. And southern Maine has a very advanced ocean and maritime industry, life sciences, advanced materials, clean tech, forestry, and that's where the aerospace is coming from, Rodrigo, this morning. Yes, they've started actually an initiative to launch CubeSats from their coastline. So this is going to be very interesting to watch that develop. Now, and when you look at the North Shore, north of Boston, you have a very strong life science cluster formed as well as clean tech and robotics, and of course, medical as well. So many of the things that are happening in Boston and Cambridge are also happening in other areas just outside. And this ring here is probably about a 1.5 to 2 hour drive from the center of Boston, just to give you some perspective here. When you look at the life sciences, so I've mentioned life sciences are strong in Maine, and clearly Boston and north of Boston. And then we have a cluster formed around central Massachusetts in life sciences around the Worcester region, where there's also a lot of biomanufacturing going around and also medical innovations. On the south coast and into Rhode Island, clearly as they are coastal, they have a strong ocean and maritime industry form. Also, this is where our new offshore wind industry is forming off of in Massachusetts and in Rhode Island. They also have many life sciences companies down there and a strong manufacturing base, and also robotics, especially as they relate to underwater robotics and robotics for marine environments. Then when you look into central Connecticut, there's a very strong cluster in clean tech there, especially around batteries, energy storage, fuel cells. So that is a region which has a strong supply chain of companies that can support that battery and fuel cell industry. So I just wanted to give you a little brief about that and how different areas just outside of Boston and Cambridge are strong centers of innovation as well. When you look, I'll point out where our membership of incubators are located. And this is again from southern Maine into Massachusetts, in Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And what you're seeing here in the colored bubbles is where the industry sectors are popped up. And so when you look at blue tech, it makes sense that it be around the coastal areas. I want to stress again that the south coast of Massachusetts is very strong in blue tech, and there's a blue tech initiative happening up in Maine as well. And when we talk about life sciences, which has been already reviewed several times this morning, we're looking clearly Boston and Cambridge is the main center of that, but don't forget that there are areas just outside of Boston and Cambridge too that are also strong in the life sciences. So I just wanted to make that point to you this morning. When we look at the incubators, I've got a chart here of our Cleantech incubators and their specialty areas. So we have a whole list of incubators that are focused in clean tech and the different areas where they are especially strong, whether it be in advanced materials. And a lot of these sectors, as you know, are very complementary and overlapping. But these are where many of the companies are growing in our clean tech incubator network. And then if you follow on with the life science incubators, here is a listing of the life science incubators in our network only, and there are others, especially in center of Boston and Cambridge. But these are the ones that are around the belt around Boston and Cambridge. And then their specialty areas, digital health, medical devices, biotech, and so on. So they all have different strengths. So a company looking for an incubator in our region might like to see which one would be a best fit for them. Doesn't have to be in Boston and Cambridge. And then moving on from that, these are the types of organizations that we normally work with. Massachusetts Technology Collaborative was mentioned earlier today. Clearly, the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center and the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center are quasi-government organizations here that really are the point of contact for anything going on in those industries. And then clearly we work closely with the accelerator groups that are in the region because we see them as sort of feeder operations for the next step, which would be incubation for many of these companies. But what I'd like to talk to you about a little bit is the way we think about internationalization with the many companies coming from international regions who are looking and exploring opportunities in our region here. The first question is, why would you want to come to the US? Well, we know, I mean, clearly a lot of points are made this morning on why Massachusetts is a good place to land, and Boston in particular. The United States is the world's most attractive consumer market. That makes it a magnet for many companies looking to enter that market. But you really need to sort of have an internationalization strategy and define whether a move to the US is the best first step for your company. So I think that's an important point to make here. And your company should do a good amount of due diligence and marketing, looking at the landscape here to see whether an expansion to the US is the right move for you at this point in your business cycle, or is it more important to open an office in a different location first? And of course, a big part of this is what your budget is, because it's very expensive to operate in the US. And you need to do a full evaluation of what it's going to cost your company to make a move to the US. And it's usually double or triple what you originally thought it might be. So just trying to make these points, probably you've thought about these before, but this is what we often see when we work with international companies. And I just want to say, I think it was mentioned earlier today that the Greater Boston region is home to the largest Brazilian diaspora in the US, which should be of interest. And just a few things to mention about considerations when you're selecting a soft landing location. I know these land-to-land programs have been dotted around the globe, and you're looking at different ecosystems. And if you're looking, regardless of which one you're looking at, I think these are some of the points to consider when you're looking to expand internationally. Where are those areas that have strong regional industry sectors that align with yours? Like I just showed you on the map, where are those clusters forming? That's a good indication of where you might want to locate your business. Where are your customers? Where are your potential customers? Where are the US investor locations? Are you going to be looking for pilot and demonstration sites as you move your businesses here? I know a lot of the technology startups and scale-up companies have proven their technologies and validated their technologies in their home countries and maybe other countries as well. But as they look to move to the US, they would likely need to validate their technology in the US as well. So look for areas where that's possible for you, where those opportunities exist. Of course, you think about time zone differences and how easy it is to do business back and forth between the US or Boston and your home country, access to major hubs. And important, I think, is to land in an area where there's a robust innovation and business ecosystem, because then you have a real concentration and a real density of entrepreneur-minded people, sort of clearly the talent pool, the universities for academic connections and faculty connections and so on. So all of those things are important considerations when you're looking at expanding your operation beyond your home country. And of course, cost of living and cost of doing business. And that is a big issue for many. Boston and Cambridge are very expensive, but in the areas that I mentioned earlier, just outside of the ring of Boston and Cambridge, the costs drop considerably. So that's another consideration that you should look at. And then I'm not going to say anything about cultural aspects. I think this was done very well in prior people who have talked earlier today. But clearly we do consider that as an important point. Now I'd like to talk to you about what we have to offer through our organization in a pre-landing, what we call a pre-landing program, and then soft landing programs to assist with international scale-ups in US market entry opportunities. First thing I'd like to say is that we have received a federal grant through the US Department of Commerce, the Economic Development Administration, to be able to develop and offer programs for international companies as they look to expand operations here. We are doing this in a concert with one of our other incubator members, which is North Shore Innoventures, located just a little bit north of Boston. So we have a 3-year grant. We're 2 years into the grant and our programs under these grant activities. As part of those grant activities, we offer a series of webinars, which are recorded and available free of charge on our website for on-demand viewing. And all of the topics for these webinars are focused on the international startup looking to come to the US or come to the Boston region. Anything from, overviews of the Massachusetts startup ecosystem to fundraising, to law, to establishing your US entity, business formation, all sorts of things. So I would direct you to our website to look at some of those as you start to sort of craft your plan to come here. And then in addition to that, we have developed through these grant activities something we're calling the New England Technology Ecosystem Asset Map, which is a searchable resource locator for any technology company, whether that be domestic or international, looking for different assets that or resources in this region that would be beneficial to their company. And so we have a list of over 26 different asset categories that you might want to search for. Incubators, accelerators, the research and development facilities, the government organizations, the consulates are all on there, the academic institutions, the clinical research hospitals, contract research and manufacturing organizations. It's very dense with these assets. And so as an international company looking into the region to see if it's right for them, I think this could be a valuable resource. Now what we have what we call a pre-landing program, and we run this program as a cohort-based program for startups that are ready to initiate an expansion in the US in New England region, especially Massachusetts, which we know is one of the main innovation ecosystems throughout the world. We had begun this program with in-person events, but now have to reformat that to remote as everyone else has. But this program is a short-term, week-long agenda, which is going to, first of all, give you all of the information that you would require, what's necessary to make a first landing on the ground here. And more than that, we are building first relationships for you on the ground. So we make introductions to the people, and these cohorts are industry sector based. So we just completed one in healthcare in September. Our next one, which is going to be at the late winter period, will be in blue tech. So we'll do these throughout the year in cohorts, small cohorts of up to 8 companies at a time. We feel that's a good number of companies to work with at once. And so you get a lot of information in this short week, but it's going to build first relationships on the ground here for you remotely, until you're able to start to travel again and come over. Then those early relationships that you have begun here can then be taken a step further with on the ground meetings with the people that will really advance your company, whether they be for fundraising or be for pilot and demonstration opportunities, and so on. The other thing that you'll do in our pre-landing program is meet our incubator network. And we look at these as, we like to give visibility to our incubators as potential first landing sites, first offices on the ground here for a company. You would be landing in a organization that is, with like-minded companies all building out a built community already for you, with strong incubator managers who could make further connections for you. And many of our incubators run their own soft landing programs, which we consider to be the step after our pre-landing program. So you would be able to go through our pre-landing program in a short duration in a small cohort, and then transfer to a soft landing program, would be a longer term program, whether it be 6 to 12 months in an incubator. That's a very good fit for your type of company. So that's the way we see a nice progress and a nice value chain of opportunities for an international company. And so when I talk about the soft landing programs in our incubator members network, I'll give you an example through the soft landing program developed for North Shore Innoventures on the North Shore of Boston. And what they will provide is not only space and services for a company. And let me say too that while we're under COVID restrictions, a lot of our incubators are doing virtual incubation for companies. So this is a way for a company to develop a relationship with an incubator and have a mailbox on the ground here and be able to get some mentoring from the incubator and be able to meet with people in the incubator who can make connections for them in a virtual way, in a remote way, until the travel restrictions are lifted and we're more free to come here and do business on the ground. North Shore Innoventures has an especially good soft landing program with a strong mentor team that can really move the needle for your company. I think about a third of the companies in that incubator are international companies or have an international founder in them. So they really understand how to work with international companies and the special considerations in working with an international company. They have expertise in key business areas. They're especially strong in clean tech and life sciences. So if you're a clean tech or a life science company, they have really good connections for you on the ground here for building collaborations for your company. And just a few impact numbers from North Shore Innoventure and their soft landing program. They've had 64 members. They're very strong in internships. There's always a good opportunity working with the universities to have student interns able to work within your company for very low cost. They have raised over $481 million, created 448 jobs. Again, we're seeing this diversity issue come up. This is a big issue around for a lot of us in our organizations these days here. And they're proud to say that 20% of their women founders, their founders are women. And as I said before, they've had a strong soft landing program, and they're represented by 20 countries in 14 different languages. They were recognized as Incubator of the Year in 2018 through the NBIA program. So a really good place to start your business. And just as an example of some of the industry cluster in north of Boston, focused in the life sciences, these are just some of the life sciences companies that are located north of Boston, not Boston, north of Boston. So really what I'm trying to bring you direct you to is the areas just outside of Boston that are just as strong and have as many connections for you as those incubators or accelerators in Boston. So hope I got that point across, and I'm very willing to take any questions from you. Help you in any way we can.
John, thank you very much. You bring us very important details on the whole regional picture of the Massachusetts, New England area, and I'm sure these the matrix you shared with at least clean tech and the biotech incubation programs and incubator accelerators institutions in the area will be very useful for many of our audience. I will just there's one question that I don't want to lose this question, so I would make it to you, and also it's also open for Sunanda, our next presenter. And I'm also curious, MappyFace, the facial integrated mapping, is asking if you believe that startup solutions without any traction outside of US can become successful on US, and is there any opportunity for those companies in their program? So if the company has no traction in US, or even in their own company, it's an early stage with no traction, what do you recommend for them on trying to start working in the US?
Well, in regard to our pre-landing and the soft landing programs in our incubators, they are not usually open to companies without any traction yet. Therefore, maturing companies or scale-up companies. that are ready to make a move to the US. So I'd say in those two programs, that is probably not the right fit for a very early stage company that's just starting out. However, in the incubators themselves, there are many incubators that do focus on early stage companies, whether they be domestic or international companies, that can help a company to grow. But when we talk about, really internationalization and looking at next markets in the US, I would say that you do need some traction first.
Great, thank you very much, Joanne. That was very interesting to know about the pre-landing and the soft landing programs. Also, that some of these and the one that the incubator you brought that as an example is a member of NBIA. I believe you are also connected with NBIA. And they are a great partner as well from Anprotec, and for myself, I am an associated member of NBIA myself. So it's good to hear about also the network. Thank you very much, and I will now pass on Sunanda, and I would like to say also to my colleague from MapFace that if you want to start globally, maybe start a business directly in a US incubator or any incubator in the world, in China or anywhere else, you are able to do that as an early stage or just starting the business there. But if you are doing an internationalization process, and then you should have any traction beforehand, or at least try to start your business in the country, and then you go on the second step for the internationalization process. So now, Sunanda, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Sunanda is Senior Manager of Global Partnership at Mass Challenge. Mass Challenge is a global zero equity startup accelerator headquartered in Boston that strengthens the global innovation ecosystem by accelerating high potential startups across all industries from anywhere in the world. At Mass Challenge, Sunanda leads and runs Bridge to Mass Challenge program, partnering with international organizations representing governments, innovation groups, and corporations to build and strengthen their innovation ecosystem. And as the International Relations Director for Anprotec, the National Association of Innovation Promoting Institutions. I'm glad to have you here. And of course, we'll be connected as well and discuss also opportunities between Anprotec and Mass Challenge. But now I would like to hear from you. The floor is yours. Thank you. It's with you, Sunanda.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Really happy to be here. I'm trying to share my screen. It says I'm not able to share my screen for some reason.
Okay, Luciano, can you help us with that, please?
Thank you. There we go. Great. All right, are you able to see my screen, everyone? Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. Really excited to be here to talk to you about the Mass Challenge community and how Brazilian startups can be involved in the Boston innovation ecosystem. And to start with, what is Mass Challenge? Mass Challenge is the global network for innovators who are working to solve massive challenges. We connect startups, experts, corporations, and communities to grow and transform businesses and economies. We know that great ideas can come from anyone and from anywhere across the world, which is why we work with entrepreneurs from across any industry, from anywhere across the world, as long as the ideas are disruptive, question the status quo, and they create meaningful change. And how do we do that? Through what we call an ecosystem approach. Marie from the Capital Network really spoke a little bit about this, but really what sets us apart from a lot of other accelerators is the fact that we act as the convener of an innovation ecosystem in any region that we are, where we exist. Oftentimes we've seen that each of these innovation stakeholders play such a crucial part of economic development in the region. They each have a way of how they work with startups, how they approach innovation, but oftentimes they don't work very collaboratively with each other. So Mass Challenge is where Mass Challenge comes in here, really brings the community together through a very holistic, collaborative way which is designed to really engage every stakeholder and provide value to each and every one of them. So the core, of course, of Mass Challenge's efforts is on startup and business success. We are a global organization. We were founded in 2010 in Boston when the city was just coming out of recession. The goal really was to sort of support entrepreneurship and businesses and research that was coming out of the various universities in Boston, prevent them from going to the Bay Area or look west, and sort of give them all the resources, tools, mentorship, and guidance needed to succeed in the Boston area and create sustainable jobs and thereby improve the economy. So that model was so successful that we were able to take it to other parts of the globe. So the early stage accelerator model, we run them in Boston, Rhode Island, Texas, Mexico, Israel, and Switzerland. So outside of the early stage accelerator, we also run a vertical-based accelerator, which is more geared towards startups that have already seen traction, who've raised rounds of funding, they're already generating revenue, but they're ready. We call them enterprise-ready startups, who are really in a position to roll up their sleeves and collaborate and partner with our corporate partners and reach tangible outcomes. This is a longer duration, and they're focused on the two industry vertical accelerators that we run are focused on health tech and fintech, and they're based out of the Boston program. Of course, as our the earlier speakers have said, this is because of the strategic location of Boston, where because of the vast network of healthcare, life sciences, and digital health providers that exist in the Boston area, as well as the large financial institutions that exist in the region. Outside of that, we also run what we call Bridge to Mass Challenge programs. These are programs where we partner with international organizations and entities in really understanding the region's innovation challenges and how they're looking to build and scale their innovation ecosystems. So we partner with entities to build customized programs in those regions to support local talent, local startups, and also equip the region stakeholders, whether it is the mentor community or the VC community. We really work very, very collaboratively with a partner to strengthen the ecosystem. And we've run bridge programs in close to 15 regions across the world until now. Well, the big key differentiator for the Mass Challenge program is the fact that we don't take equity from our startups. We value impact over equity. Of course, we are a not-for-profit, and the focus really is to help startups build sustainable businesses that will help them flourish and create more jobs in the economy. So we don't really take equity from our startups at all. So we are here to really identify high-impact ideas, give them the resources, tools, and of course, because it's a competition model, get them the early funding that's required, access to cash prices that is required for them to take off and get their business started. So diving a little bit into the Mass Challenge Boston program, because we are talking about the Boston ecosystem today. It is our earliest program, our flagship early stage accelerator, which is designed to drive startup outcomes by connecting early stage companies and sort of with various industries and sort of focused on really key outcomes. How we really build this program is every year we identify 100 most high impact startups just in Boston alone to go through a 4-month accelerator program. And during the program itself, we connect these startups to a powerful network of support resources, whether it is a mentor network. We have close to 500 experts just in the Boston network alone, over 1,000 alumni, and a large portfolio of corporate partners. So really a combination of these elements help these early stage companies really succeed at the end of the 4 months. This is a quick snapshot of the industries that are represented. Of course, like I mentioned, we are industry agnostic and we see ideas coming from various industries, but these are the most significant industries where we see ideas come through in Boston. Not surprisingly, in high tech, healthcare, retail, and social impact, and most recently more towards energy and clean tech as well. Quickly diving into the curriculum during the accelerator itself, we know that there are various aspects of curriculum and support that's required as an early stage business and as an early stage entrepreneur. So many different diverse topics to navigate and really help succeed. So we break it down into workshops, into roundtables, into seminars, and they focus on these various categories. So really around the team and how to sort of build a successful cultural organization, and then more into the technical aspects of product validation, product design, and then really about diving into how to build and hone that perfect pitch, how to look at the right customer market, and then how to look at customer acquisition and channel partners, really diving into every aspect of what is needed as an early stage entrepreneur. One of the biggest value adds of being part of the Mass Challenge community undoubtedly is an expert network that we boast of. We have thousands of mentors who exist as part of a global community, and around 400 to 500 mentors just in the Boston area alone. And now, because the geography is the borders are diminishing and geographies are opening up, all the more reason to sort of have access to mentors from across the world, working with our startups from anywhere across the world. So in Boston, most of these mentors represent successful entrepreneurs. They can be executives from our corporate partners. They could be investors, angels, and VCs, and also real experts in their areas of expertise. They can be sales leaders, they can be marketing gurus, they might be IP experts, lawyers representing various firms. So there's a plethora of options and a vast database of experts that are available as part of the program. And also during the program itself, we host a ton of events, such as the mentor matching night, where startups can meet with experts from across industries and really get to know each other. Of course, this was a very lively event when the world was not virtual, but we've also tried to recreate this through our virtual programming that we've been running over the last 6 months, and it's been equally effective and valuable to our startups. We also have startups will also get access to the Mass Challenge dashboard that has details of the various experts and mentors, and they can sort of search for them based on the organization they represent or the functional expertise they represent, or the skills that they can contribute to, or even based on location. So this is a really, really useful tool. And what we really say is that the mentor startup relationship does not just last during the 4 months of the accelerator, but this is a relationship that they cultivate at Mass Challenge, and they can go take it beyond there. So once you actually enter a Mass Challenge, the startups are really part of a community that they never have to really leave. Here's a snapshot of our top corporate partners for the Boston program, and this is just the Boston Mass Challenge Boston Partner Network. This slide will look very different across our various programs. We have certain global partners, but each early stage program has its own set of corporate partners. And what we really do is we help facilitate networking and relationship building opportunities between the startups in the cohort as well as our corporate partners. And how these partners really support our startups are through co-development opportunities, product validation, strategic investments, customer connections, as well as advisor introductions. Again, if this was not a virtual setting, you'd have access to world-class resources. First off, our office spaces are located in very strategic locations across our various hubs. In Boston, Mass Challenge is located in the Seaport, which is actually known as the Innovation District because it's fast seeing a lot of innovative companies move to that region. In fact, just in our building, we have the Reebok's HQ, we have Continuum's HQ, and we have Autodesk's HQ. We see multinational companies like Amazon move to the Innovation District. We're seeing PwC, we're seeing banks as well as consulting companies and law firms all move to the Seaport area. So definitely really becoming one of the most sought after regions for startups. And so it's a very strategic location. We also have a lot of in-kind partnerships. So we know that there's a lot of resources that as an early stage entrepreneur that is required. So we have partners with we have partnerships with HubSpot, AWS, and so on to offer inbound marketing efforts, data storage, and so on. And of course, just being a part of the community itself is like getting access to the various other players in the ecosystem across our hubs. We are friends with everybody as an example, in Boston, we are friends with all other innovation players in Boston. We work very closely with universities like MIT, Harvard, Brandeis, PAPS, and Boston University. We work really closely with Mass CEC. We work closely with the various corporates. We work very closely with the mentor network. So really, and other innovation hubs as well. So being part of the Mass Challenge community opens doors for other introductions and community building. Well, the Mass Challenge framework itself, it's based on a competition framework. So, instead of an investment style framework. So to get into the program, you go through various rounds of judging. The first round is an online judging round, and then there is a virtual pitch that you would pitch in front of a jury of judges. And then once you get into the program, you also go through multiple rounds of judging. There is a pre-final round and a final round where you pitch in front of high-profile corporates, experts, and innovators who really will help select the prize winners. And the prize winners, we give away usually up to $1 million of equity-free cash prizes at the end of the program in October at our awards ceremony, which is a signature event. It's usually a large gala dinner that we host at the Boston Convention Center. But this year it was, of course, virtual, but we had really interesting speakers like Ariana Huffington do a fireside chat and a motivational speech for our speakers. In the past, we've had Travis Kalanick, we've had the co-founder of Airbnb, large names, really speakers representing large brands and large startups, successful companies come and really address our startups. And this is where we give away our equity-free cash prizes. It is a proven acceleration model. So far, we've accelerated close to 2,500 startups globally that have combined raised funding of over $6.2 billion dollars and have generated over $3 billion of revenue and have created 157,000 jobs. There have been some really, really strong startups that come from Brazil as well. One is Bove Control. They've raised already around 2.1 million of funding so far, and the founder interestingly moved to the US, to Boston, for the Mass Challenge program. They went through the program, and now they've set up a HQ in California post the Mass Challenge program. So this is really an example of an entrepreneur coming from Brazil, going through a program, getting the initial traction, making those connections, and sort of finding their way into the US market. There's plenty of growth opportunity going through a Mass Challenge program. So we've seen that startups that participate in the Mass Challenge are 2.5 times more likely to raise at least $500,000 in funding and 3 times more likely to reach 15 employees. And this is based on an MIT study. Now for the main part. Applications open early in the year, every year. We run one accelerator every year across our regions. So the Boston application will open sometime in February. Look at our website for the actual dates. They're yet to be announced. The first round is a very easy, simple online application round that will go through evaluation by our Mass Challenge community of judges and experts, and then we'll select startups that will be invited for a virtual pitch competition. And then the judging period is between April and May. And then towards the end of May, we'll announce a cohort of startups who will move into, or who will actually go through, we call them Mass Challenge finalists, who will actually go through the accelerator program between June and September. And then they'll also go through the competition. And then finally, we will award the winners in October. So our judges are basically looking to identify high impact startups, and that can mean different things. They can mean impact can mean including revenue targets. It can be early industry disruption. It can be job creation and so more. I know there was a question earlier on how we evaluate startups, but it's based on how impactful the idea is. And typically, even though we look for early stage entrepreneurs who raised under 1 million of prior funding and have generated under 1 million of revenue, we look at the kind of traction they have and how impactful their ideas are. Of course, Mass Challenge staff do not select these startups. It is the jury of experts that represent our Mass Challenge community that help evaluate these startups who participate. And there is absolutely no harm in anyone applying to the program, because every startup that applies to a Mass Challenge program is guaranteed feedback from our expert judges. So whether or not you go to the next stage or get into the program, you get feedback on your business idea and your application. So it's definitely something that I highly recommend the startups, Brazilian startups, to consider. So definitely look at our Mass Challenge website for when applications open, and I'd be happy to share my contact details, and you can contact me with any specific questions you may have regarding the program and Mass Challenge. Thank you so much, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Great, Sunanda, thank you very much. I would like to say that for us, at least from Anprotec side, it's we would like to thank you and say that we would be glad to be sharing all the information and also the opportunities for the next round starting on February. It's a network of incubators and accelerators and tech parks and science parks. We can reach a very wide number of startups all over Brazil, and we will be sharing the opportunity, which is actually a great opportunity for any startup, I believe. And if I got right, then I'll actually ask you that. So it's not just equity free, but also as a challenge, there is no fee to participating in the program itself. Is that right? Is that what I understood? Of course, if it's physical, it will have the minimum investment to be there in the US, to be in Boston, but there is no fee of any kind during the whole process if selected. Is that right?
Absolutely. There's usually a application fee, and I'm happy to share a promo code that you can use to get a 50% off. That startups can use to get a 50% off to apply, but the actual program itself is absolutely free of cost. So there is no cost involved. As I mentioned, for startups who are outside of Boston, for them to move there, they have to take care of their own expenses and lifestyle expenses. And but outside of that, they get the access to the space free of cost, mentorship, the network and the community. Everything is for free during the program. And also as alumni after the program, they still have access to Mass Challenge, so they're able to continue to get access to our network even after they graduate from the program.
Oh, great, thank you. We have, let me check here, one more question from Lucas Faquin. And I will do it to you. I'll also open to Joan that is here with us, and also for Mr. Roberto. Because we are actually coming to the close of this event. So I would just have this one question, and you can all work on that, because it's interesting, because it's a little bit different. He's actually asking about, as he sees it, the whole programs and services offered with among all the participants that were here with us are focusing on the internationalization process, but if early stage startup is bootstrapping their way, it's starting to get traction, but are looking for a first step on connecting to the ecosystem, and looking for initial export activities for a further moment of internationalization. Is it possible in any of these scenarios? And I would also open to all of you to have these few words on that, and also to make your final statement, so we can go for the closing of this event. So Sunanda, I will start with you.
Sure. On behalf of Mass Challenge, we do have the early stage programs, which is very competitive. Just for Boston alone, we get around 14 to 1,500 applications from across the world, and our acceptance rate is 100 startups. So very competitive program. So of course, the most high impact startups from across the world do get in, and they don't necessarily have to have had traction. So many of them can be anywhere from an idea to all the way, and they actually enter the program and sort of really build and hone and sort of get access to the funding agents while they are there. Having said that, we also think that it's important for international companies to we see that happen more with the local companies. With the international companies, we run the Bridge to Mass Challenge program as a way to connect that region with Mass Challenge. So what we really do is go to that region, run a little bit of activities, identify high impact startups, get them acclimatized to what it would take to enter a Mass Challenge program, and then connect them with our hubs. So so that's another way for us to sort of enter a new region, get them the resources, tools, and knowledge needed to enter a large accelerator like Mass Challenge.
Thank you. Joanne, do you want to have some words on that as well?
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. I agree. I like to think of this as a whole value chain from all of our organizations. We all work very closely together and know everyone in the ecosystem here in Boston. And I think starting with an accelerator program is the right idea, whether it be something like Mass Challenge, or if you're in Cleantech Open, and then after the accelerator is over, move on to a dedicated pre-landing, dedicated soft landing program in an incubator, which is a longer term obligation. So I think that is a great way for a company to progress on the international side, looking to establish a base here.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Joanne, Sunanda, and thank you. I will just now pass to Cristina Nieco, That is our colleague from Sebrae, who is actually going to do the closing on this event. For me, it was a pleasure. Very, very helpful. Very, very a lot of new activities and knowledge. Thank you very much for all the participants. And I will switch back to Portuguese. Eu queria agradecer ao Ministério das Relações Exteriores, em nome do cônsul Roberto Medeiros. Muito obrigado. Também ao amigo Luiz Fernando, do Departamento de Ciência e Tecnologia, do Programa Diplomacia Inovação, do Ministério, a Apex Brasil, em nome da Mariana, nossa parceira aqui na Anprotec, nos projetos da Anprotec, e ao Sebrae, por também estar aqui conosco, em nome da Cristina e em nome da Anprotec, agradecer a presença de todos, mais essa parceria e essa oportunidade de aprender bastante sobre esse contexto todo de Washington. Para mim foi um prazer, uma honra estar aqui hoje. Cris, obrigado. Now, agora contigo para o encerramento. Obrigado.
Oh, thanks, Rodrigo. Hi, everyone again. It's a great pleasure for me to say a few words at the end of this virtual event. So first, I'd like to start by thanking Anprotec again, Apex, Sebrae, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and our amazing speakers. Thank you very much. I'm sure this webinar was a great moment to learn about internationalization initiatives in this innovative and growing market. We also explore the world opportunities for startups and small companies in Brazil. Thank you so much for being part of it. And I hope you have enjoyed this online event as much as I have. Now, let's switch to Portuguese to thank the Brazilian audience. Pessoal, obrigada por terem ficado com a gente até aqui, por assistirem toda essa programação. Pessoal da Anprotec, da Apex, do Ministério das Relações Exteriores, prepararam essa agenda com muito carinho, querendo mostrar todas as oportunidades possíveis para a internacionalização de startups e pequenos negócios inovadores no Brasil. Eu fiquei muito feliz com a agenda, eu achei que os nossos speakers, assim, alto nível, trazendo muitas oportunidades. Obrigada, Rodrigo. Foi uma grande mediação, foi um grande prazer estar aqui com vocês. Contigo novamente. Tchau, tchau.
Bom, é isso, pessoal. Nós encerramos por aqui. Desejo a todos uma boa semana, um bom resto de terça-feira e a gente se vê na próxima. Valeu!